Okay, these are actually incredible. Here we have the box, a very interesting box, might I add. Look at this. Now this is coming from someone who has never owned a pair of the Union Jordan 1s, except for the woven ones. I did have those. But just like all of the rest, these come with a completely custom Jordan 1 box. Now this one has a bunch of different images of like old Jordan marketing posters. You got a red Jumpman front and center, and the interesting thing about this is it has a regular Jordan box kind of around the side. So as you open the lid, it's just that black and red that we all know with Jordan 1s. So obviously these don't have a top. It's actually a lid style, which is pretty dope. Let's pop them open and let me show you guys today's sneaker. It's the Jordan 1 Union Chicago Shadow. Some other notable things that you get in the box is some special paper, which I thought was pretty cool. It has like a bunch of sketches of, I assume, the design and all of like the original sketches that went into like the creation of this sneaker. You get a solid blue plastic hang tag with the Jumpman branding, and then you get 3 sets of laces. So these are not your standard laces. They actually have a little bit of a color switch going on. All 3 actually come attached to the shoe, so you don't get like an extra box or anything like that. But you've got a sail which fades to black color. You then get a black which fades to gray at the top, which I think looks pretty dope. And then the only one that doesn't have the whole like two-tone thing is the actual Union colors, which is just this mustard yellow. In my opinion, I think the sail ones are the ones to go with because they match the tongue. So like obviously this split design, you've got the sail running up and then it just switches over when you get to that black tongue. But this is the sneaker that we've been kind of talking about, leaks and rumors of for the longest time. And honestly, it kind of feels like a fan service sneaker. Jordan and Union, just seeing how many people absolutely loved the first 2 that they did and just being like, well, let's just give him exactly what they want with some of the most iconic colors possible. This is actually the 4th installment of a Union collaboration specifically on the Jordan 1 model. The 2 original ones, obviously, I would say the most iconic. In the middle, you get, I guess, the little bit of a different one. That's the one with a huge, like, woven stitch running down the side. So most importantly, I would say this is the 3rd of their most popular design. And obviously, that follows the storm blue and the black toes, which just are like absolute grails for some people and resell for a ridiculous amount. And I guess because so many people hold those shoes in such high regard, I did hear some talk about people saying that, you know what, maybe this pair of shoes releasing is a little bit too much and they should have just kept those special. But honestly, I don't think I agree with that. I think they could have arguably even done a 4th one and it would still just be as good. Either way, there is some incredible details to get into, but first let me give you some of the release details because that is literally happening like tomorrow. So these actually have their global Nike sneakers release on March the 18th, and obviously that follows the initial drop which happened on Union's website. There's a little bit of a price bump on these, $200 for you guys out in the US, £175 here in the UK, and I can't remember exactly what the first 2, the retail price of those were, so if you remember, let me know down in the comment section. It'd be interesting to see if there has been a little bit of a price increase even on top of those. Now, like I said in the beginning of the video, this is my first Union Jordan 1 in as far as like, you know, the whole split design version, and I've got to say, like, I don't think I ever really grasped like how cool this pair of shoes is until I got it in hand. But the details, the materials, it really does just feel like a masterclass in collaboration efforts from like a design standpoint. Now, all of this is based off of a very simple idea. It's just merging 2 pairs of shoes or 2 colorways of a shoe into one. So on the bottom, you've obviously got the Chicago Jordan 1s, obviously like the most iconic colorway you can get. And then up here on the top, you've got a shadow colorway, also an original colorway of the Jordan 1. Now they merged these together through a stitch, a very obvious stitch, which comes in blue on this pair, which I always thought was a little bit of a questionable like color to choose. I thought, you know, something that would match the rest of it would be better, maybe an orange or a black. But honestly, I don't know if I necessarily mind the blue. Now that I've got it, like it doesn't really, it's not as big of a deal as I initially thought it would be. And overall, the materials are pretty much as good as it gets for a Jordan 1. The leather has a seriously nice tumble to it. It's decently thick and it's also pretty soft. Now you get that nice leather around all of the lower panels, so for all of the Chicago, the red, the white. You also get it for the gray around the ankle area. They do take a little bit of a departure with the Nike swoosh, which I thought was a little bit annoying because they added like this felt feeling material, just looks a little bit synthetic, also feels synthetic. However, they make up for it by adding this super soft suede right up around the ankle area. Now, overall, they went pretty aggressive with the aging or the sailing with this pair of shoes. Starting with the midsole, it's very, very yellowed out. Like comparing it to the already like pre-aged Lost and Found Chicagos, you can see the difference. It almost makes the Lost and Founds look solid white. Now, another detail is every single panel that you see, all of the raw edges, that's been painted yellow as well. I guess to just add to the overall sail effect that this pair of shoes has. Base tongue is sailed. The laces are sailed, well, depending on which one you choose. And then right at the top of the tongue, you've got some exposed foam, and that's also just yellowed out. So while we're up here around the tongue, I thought a really interesting detail was the actual tongue tag, because that doesn't feel like your regular material. It almost feels like paper. It creases a little bit interestingly. You definitely feel like it is plastic, but it has like a paperish feel to it. And it's also literally just like a sketch design on there. So for the Nike Air branding, that's literally just like kind of sketched in there. Then obviously you get some more of that blue woven stitching that runs around just like you do around the outside. Now, of course, this wouldn't be a Union collaboration without their signature branding tag. So that comes in orange, just says UN/LA. Pretty much on every single one of their Jordan collaborations that they've done. And honestly, I really like it. I think it works super well with this pair of shoes. It's a nice just little touch over there of orange. But yeah, overall, even with the stitching and everything, this is just a Jordan 1. So on foot, it feels identical to any other pair that you've had. Now, for me, that is always true to size, so that's what I'm going to recommend to you. If you're after this pair of shoes, stay true to size. And something I think that everybody has been talking about since the release of this pair of shoes is like, how do they stack up to the originals? Are they better? Are they worse? Well, I think generally speaking, like the originals will always be held in slightly a higher regard. I think people have a lot of like fond memories about them, or they've just been around for so long that people really do treat them like grails. And all of those feelings attached to those two colorways just won't go away. But on the other hand, this is a Chicago colorway, the most iconic colorway that you can find on a Jordan 1, and I do think that the shadow element on top works perfectly as well. So I think if all three released at the exact same time, these would probably be the best, at least in my opinion. I just feel like I would choose them. I really do like this pair of shoes. In fact, overall, these might be one of the coolest Jordan 1 collaborations of all time. I don't know if that's a hot take or not, but yeah, that's kind of how I'm feeling. They're just so unique, so well executed. There's so much more to this pair of shoes than just, you know, slapping a new color or some branding onto it. The packaging is great. It almost feels like a big fan of the Jordan 1 created this pair of shoes. Also, I will say, just a quick reminder, there is supposed to be a fourth pair of this mix and match Jordan 1 coming up later on this year. And in fact, that's not just going to be another colorway, that's supposed to be a triple collaboration between Jordan, Union, and Fragment. So it's supposed to have like the exact same theme as this, where there's two different colorways, one stitched on top of the other. However, we assume that that's supposed to have that like Fragment blue on there. Now, I do imagine that those will be probably like the most limited out of all of them, just because it is a Fragment collaboration and a triple collab. So don't expect those to be a walk in the park. I mean, these were hard enough as it is. Either way, I mean, yeah, it's a great pair of shoes. It is just a little bit sad that they are so expensive on the aftermarket. We can hope after this Nike sneakers have released that they drop down a little bit to a little bit more of a reasonable price. But honestly, it seems like that's kind of what we need to expect here in 2025. A lot of these hyped up sneaker releases have been incredibly limited from Jordan brand. Either way, let me know what you think about the Chicago Shadow Jordan 1, and I'd like to know from you guys where these stack up in the rest of the other two. So like, are these number 1, number 2, number 3? Let me know where you'd place these, and of course, if you want to check out another video, there's one chilling right over there.